Pathetic. Don't bring your wife around. Upon the sudden arrival of my wife at the office, my boss, who we'll call Michael, laughed in a mocking manner. Michael, my boss, is younger than me, yet he takes every opportunity to harass me. His immature remarks are probably just an extension of his daily behavior. The words that likely slipped out of Michael's mouth unconsciously would shock anyone with common sense. However, my wife, without changing her expression, slowly turned around and handed him a piece of paper. Upon taking a closer look at my wife's face, Michael realized the gravity of what he had done and began to tremble. Could you possibly be? My name is David Miller. I'm a 50-year-old office worker. I live in a condo with my wife. Since we don't have any children, our lives are mostly centered around work. My wife, Sophia, was my high school classmate. We attended one of the top preparatory schools in our hometown. It was a given that after 3 years of intense studying, one would go on to a prestigious university. Sophia, who was in the same class as me for all 3 years, became a close friend after we were seated next to each other in our first year. Studying together before exams, our relationship evolved into something more than friendship but less than romance. Sophia, you're really good at math and science. I envy how you understand everything in class so easily. It's not like that, but looking at numbers calms my mind. They don't have double meanings or require reading between the lines. The clear rules make it feel safe. It's amazing you can think like that. I'm always barely keeping up, so I don't have the luxury to think so deeply. Sophia consistently achieved top grades in our grade. Partly because of this, I harbored special feelings for her. A mix of admiration and affection, a curious blend of emotions. However, I couldn't bring myself to confess those feelings at the time. One reason was the impending university entrance exams. I figured Sophia had other priorities. Another reason was my family situation. My father worked for a company that suddenly went bankrupt, leaving us without any income. As the situation started to look grim, there was a noticeable exodus of younger employees. To compensate for the vacancies, my father began to work incessantly, giving up his days off. Despite his efforts, the company went under, leaving salaries unpaid. Having dedicated his life to the company, my father had no energy left for job hunting and retreated into seclusion at home. I've decided to give up on university and start looking for a job. Being from a competitive school should help with the job search, I think. I shared my situation with Sophia on our way back from studying at the library one day. I expected her to object, but her reaction was surprisingly supportive. You'll be fine, David. Choosing a different path can be a chance in its own right. You'll likely catch the attention of many companies. True to Sophia's prediction, I received several job offers. In the end, I chose to work for a food manufacturing company. The deciding factor was the salary. Although it was commission-based, it offered the highest pay, especially given the field work involved in the sales position. With my father unable to work, it was up to me to support my family. My younger sister wanted to go to college. Therefore, I needed to save up for her tuition as well. Sophia went on to attend a prestigious national university in New York. She worked as a student intern for a major company in Spain, shining as a star student in her international studies program. Sophia, whose language skills had improved to a native level, effortlessly joined a publicly traded company. She quickly made a name for herself, including a stint at an overseas branch, showing rapid career advancement. Despite our contrasting paths, we continued to stay in touch frequently after graduating from high school. Even as she surged down the elite track, Sophia regarded me as an equal. As a working adult, it's common to meet people who change their attitude based on academic background and income. However, Sophia never behaved like that. and I found myself increasingly drawn to her. It wasn't a matter of who confessed first. Somehow, we naturally became a couple. Then, the summer we both turned 25, we started living together and got married the following year. I had a desire for children, but Sophia, being groomed for a leadership role, was inevitably faced with endless overtime. It was clear that having a child would place a significant burden on Sophia, both in terms of childcare and financially. While I felt envious of families playing in the park, I couldn't bring up the topic of having children. Yet, life with Sophia was happy. We enjoyed moderately luxurious overseas trips once a year and relaxed at spa during long weekend. By the time we were over 40, this had become our norm. The happiness of growing old with Sophia. I had come to be satisfied with this life. My peaceful life with Sophia changed dramatically when we turned 50. Suddenly, a trivial matter led to my demotion to a sales office in the countryside. The reason for my demotion, to put it simply, was jealousy. The majority of employees at my company were university graduates. There were also those with master's or doctorate degrees. Among the men, I was the only one with just a high school diploma. Having been at a competitive school, I was exceptionally hired due to President Johnson's interest. Proud of my effort to not hold others back because of my educational background, I worked harder than most. I studied on my days off to improve my sales skills and even ordered foreign magazines at my own expense to deepen my product knowledge. As a result, my sales performance surpassed many university graduates, making me one of the top performers in the company. Although not as high as Sophia's earnings, I was paid more than most graduates due to the commission-based structure. However, it's true that some employees were not pleased with my success. When employee jealousy peaked, I managed to secure a major contract on my own. But then, for some reason, my manager Alex claimed it was his achievement. Clearly, Alex was lying, but as other employees who were displeased with my achievements jumped on the bandwagon, I was wrongfully accused of habitually stealing contracts. I can't make sense of this, Chris. Despite finalizing the contract myself, it's being claimed otherwise. We can confirm this with the client right now if you contact them. In desperation, I sought help from our department head, Chris, only to find out he was in league with Alex and the others. In fact, Mr. Johnson held me in high regard and often told Chris and Alex to take a leaf out of my book. He even mentioned considering promoting me to department head if others couldn't produce results on their own. For the university-educated employees, having me, a high school graduate, as their superior was an unbearable humiliation. Thus, Chris and a group of like-minded colleagues conspired to set me up. Mr. Johnson promised to reinvestigate the matter, but even if my innocence was proven, my position in the company was untenable. Changing my work environment could lead to growth in some way. To quell the turmoil within the company, I volunteered to work at the rural sales office. This marked a significant decision and change in my life at the age of 50. It's unbelievable that you've worked so hard only to be treated like this. You shouldn't have to suffer for something you didn't do. You can't just run away. You have to fight this to the end. Sophia, who has always been strong-willed and outspoken since high school, expressed her indignation. In contrast, I prefer to withdraw from messy situations rather than getting entangled. Once the flames of human jealousy are ignited, they seldom die down. That's why I felt contending with Chris and Alex was a waste of time. This is my issue, and Sophia, you have important work. I don't know how long it will take, but I'll go alone. I conveyed my decision to go on a solo assignment, prepared for the possibility of separating from Sophia. However, Sophia's reaction was unexpected. She proposed an optimistic alternative. This could be an opportunity. We're in the era of remote work. As long as I have my computer and internet, I can work from anywhere. The countryside will have internet, right? If so, I think I should come with you. Sophia, who dislikes dishonesty in others and always stands by her principles, was ready to make the move for herself, not just for me. You don't need to go to such lengths for me, Sophia. I think I can come back on weekend and we can spend time together then. That's not it. It's not for you, it's for me. I'll adjust my work approach, so don't worry. Just focus on your own issues. So we left the condo as a base for Sophia's business trips and moved into a small apartment together. Our new apartment wasn't spacious and we left most of our belongings in the condo. Despite my concerns, the space was more than adequate. It feels like a return to basics. It's refreshing in a way. Right? It reminds me of our early days as working adults. I had worried Sophia might dislike the smaller space since we were used to living more comfortably, but she seemed to enjoy the change. Sophia, thank you for coming with me. When I learned about the transfer, I was honestly downcast, but being away from those difficult people has been refreshing. I'm ready to make a fresh start and give it my all. Don't worry about it. Focusing solely on work was becoming monotonous anyway. The change of environment has invigorated me too. I have a feeling that this will lead to something good. Sophia had upgraded to a high-performance computer in preparation for her predominantly remote work. Sophia has the ability to work from anywhere. Her brilliance remains the same, whether in the city or the countryside. I felt envious of the freedom her exceptional skills afforded her. My new boss is a man 18 years younger than me. His name is Michael, and he's the branch manager. I learned from Olivia, a seasoned part-timer, that Michael initially worked at the headquarters but was somehow transferred to this branch and became the manager. I was looking forward to the new guy, but a high school grad and a 50-year-old regular employee. That's seriously bad. Were you pushed out because you lacked the skills? It's not like that. Despite being in the countryside, he graduated from a national university. In a rural setting, that degree was more than enough to boast about. There wasn't the slightest hint of a welcoming attitude. Not knowing how to respond, I fell silent. Upon learning that I was a high school graduate, Michael began to bring up university-related topics for no reason. It was clearly an attempt to belittle me. He seemed pleased with my silence. Though young for a branch manager, Michael's competence was often mistaken. In reality, he was the opposite. His behavior changed with his mood, which was a daily occurrence. Being called whimsical might sound cute, but whenever Olivia or I pointed out inconsistencies, Michael would suddenly get in a foul mood and start yelling. He would hold on to those issues, repeatedly bringing them up, so it became our job as subordinates to smooth things over without getting caught. In such an environment, it's natural for capable employees to flee. As a result, our branch's performance was the absolute worst among all the branches nationwide. Every day was a whirlwind of dealing with the boss's irrational behavior. My motivation was steadily chipped away. Sophia became my source of solace amidst the mental exhaustion. Though we were both busy with work during the week, the countryside offered unique spots, and we began to enjoy fishing and hikings over the weekend. Since graduating from university, Sophia had always been at the forefront of her company's efforts. Though she always appeared motivated, she must have been accumulating fatigue as well. The rural setting brought a change in Sophia's spirit. Conversation slowed, and the rush around the house decreased. Perhaps as a result, her facial expressions softened. On our days off, Sophia and I enjoyed fishing by a river, about an hour's drive away. We usually avoided work topics on days off, but I was frustrated that day. It's so irritating. It's just Michael and me at the branch, so we can't really argue. Olivia's nice, though. Why not just quit? We don't have kids, so taking it easy for a while might be nice. That's one way to look at it. but I feel indebted to Mr. Johnson, despite the issues with my boss. I'd like to improve our branch's performance as a way to give back. The fish must not have wanted to hear my complaints. While other anglers were catching fish smoothly, our rods remained still all day. Even the fish are looking down on me. Just as I was about to reel in my line, something soft brushed against my calf. Startled, I looked down to find a tabby cat gazing up at me with big eyes. That gave me a scare. What's a cat doing here? She looks feminine, no ear tipping, so she's probably not a community cat. Even so, it doesn't seem like she has an owner. According to regular anglers, she was a stray abandoned by humans. For the past 2 months, she had been living off scraps from the anglers. She looked healthy but a bit thin, which concerned us. People can be so irresponsible. Maybe she thought hanging around here would get her some fish. It's okay now, but it'll get colder. Fewer people will come fishing. I wonder if she'll be all right with her small body. She meowed as if asking for food, but unfortunately, we hadn't caught anything that day. However, we couldn't leave the resilient tabby to fend for herself in such a remote place. When I picked her up, she purred and buried her face in my arms. She gripped me tightly, as if asking never to be let go. She must have been cared for by someone not long ago. I felt a strong urge to protect her. Sophia felt the same. After discussing with our condo's landlord, he mentioned plans to demolish the 50-year-old building in 5 years. He agreed to overlook minor damages like scratched posts as long as we took care of toilet draining. In urban apartments, it's not uncommon for people to be concerned about the smells of pets like dogs and cats, but in the countryside, animals, including livestock, are commonly kept everywhere. As a result, the attitude towards keeping pets was much more relaxed. So, after getting permission from the other residents, our family grew in this way. Initially, we referred to her as Kitty, but after discussing it with Sophia, we decided to name her Bella. She's our long-awaited daughter. We should get her a health check at the vet, just in case. She might have diseases common to cats, and it's better to know now. Right. Living outdoors, diseases are a concern. According to the internet, the nearest vet was about an hour's drive away. So, on Sunday, we took Bella, meowing in her carrier, to the vet. The examination revealed slight malnutrition but no major issues. Just to be safe, we got some flea treatment, and after an hour's drive, Bella, Sophia, and I returned home. I'm glad she doesn't have any major illnesses. She's still energetic even after a 2-hour round trip. Everything around her must feel new. She's sniffing around everywhere, probably exploring. Look, she's running over here. Those eyes are definitely begging for food. When we first met Bella, she was a bit thin, but 2 weeks later, she had filled out nicely. Since Sophia works remotely, Bella could wander freely even on weekdays, but our condo felt cramped for an energetic kitten like her. Moreover, when both of us were out, she had to stay in her cage. A detached house would obviously be more comfortable for Bella. However, Sophia and I were hesitant, not knowing how long our countryside living would last. One day, while I was creating documents at my desk at the branch, I heard a familiar voice behind me. Surprised, I turned around to find Sophia. "You surprised me. What are you doing here?" When I spoke up, Sophia showed a playful smile. "Don't look so surprised. I've made an appointment, so it's all right." Hearing Sophia's voice, Olivia hurried over in a panic. "I'm sorry. I forgot to inform Michael that you called. What should I do now? This is troubling." Apparently, right after handing up the phone, Olivia received a call from the daycare saying her child had come down with a fever and needed to be picked up immediately. In her rush to leave, Olivia completely forgot to pass on Sophia's message to Michael. "Don't worry about it. If it's difficult to find time, we can reschedule for another day." Dressed sharply in a gray suit, Sophia exuded the aura of a capable career woman. No one would think she was just visiting her husband's workplace. However, there was one person who misinterpreted her presence. Pathetic. Don't bring your wife around. The voice belonged to Michael, who had just returned from a client visit. He made no effort to hide his disdain for me, as usual. Come on, David, at your age, it's not right to bring your wife here, and you, ma'am, this is a workplace. Please go home and prepare dinner. Then, for some reason, Sophia turned to Michael and smiled broadly. An unnaturally forced smile. She seemed different from her usual self. Are you Michael? I've always heard so much about you from my husband. Such remarkable abilities you have. It's an honor to meet you here. Sophia, who always insists on using husband instead of master to avoid suggesting any hierarchy, was behaving unusually. She was using words she'd never typically utter in greeting Michael. To me, it felt utterly out of place. Perhaps you're here for a part-time administrative job interview. I'm sorry, but our part-time positions are incredibly popular, and we have absolutely no vacancies at the moment. The part-timers, fed up with Michael's erratic behavior, never stick around long. Currently, Olivia is the only one managing a mountain of work single-handedly. Yet Michael's brazen ability to spout such blatant lies left me almost impressed. What shocked me even more was Sophia's behavior, which was a complete 180 from her usual demeanor. What a shame. I was quite keen on working here, even if it's just once a week. Do you have no openings at all? I wouldn't recommend it. Not to speak ill, but your husband is surprisingly incompetent at his job. I don't know how he acts at home, but I assume it would be quite distressing for you to see him constantly making mistakes and getting scolded. Michael, significantly younger than Sophia, was condescending and overly familiar with her. Moreover, he seemed to have misunderstood Sophia as a housewife seeking employment. Glancing at Olivia, I noticed she was trembling with fear, aware of Sophia's true identity and appalled by Michael's outrageous comments. Sophia, however, looked completely at ease. That's when it hit me. Sophia had a plan in coming here. Her target was likely Michael. Sophia always listened to my complaints. Sophia has always been someone with a strong sense of justice, saying things like wrongdoings must be corrected, and you should talk directly to Mr. Johnson if necessary. However, recently, she's only been listening, without saying anything. Could it be that a dramatic turn of events like in a TV drama is about to unfold? It seemed unlikely that such a scenario would play out here. As I pondered, Sophia turned to me and said, "Which products are you in charge of, David? I was told over the phone last time that there were samples available for tasting." What do you mean? I stumbled over my words, sounding nothing like a salesman. It's hard for me to switch to formal language with Sophia, given she's my wife. Today is the day we're considering whether we can list your products on the e-commerce site my company operates, right? You've shown us a few items, and there's potential for including 3 of them. Of course, we'll need to discuss pricing. In that moment, I finally grasped Sophia's intention. But Michael was still clueless about what was happening. Hey, what's the deal with you? Are you impersonating someone? This is a workplace. It's time for you to stop fooling around. Michael, failing to grasp the situation, continued with his disrespectful remarks. Sophia sighed in exasperation at my boss's shameful behavior. With a determined nod, Sophia slowly turned towards Michael. She handed him a small piece of paper. Michael alternated between looking at Sophia's face and the paper. Suddenly, his face turned pale, and he started to tremble. The paper Sophia handed him was her business card. From that, Michael finally realized who Sophia really was. Could you possibly be? Pleased to meet you. I'm Sophia Miller, the president. I'm sorry for any trouble my husband may have caused you." Sophia greeted him cheerfully, but her voice was a tone higher, making me flinch. Sophia is always kind and smiling, but I know all too well how scary she can be when angered. I wasn't the only one who sensed it. The atmosphere on the sales floor tensed. Michael finally seemed to understand the gravity of his actions. His attitude changed drastically as he began to apologize to Sophia. "Should I really be the one you're apologizing to? Isn't it the employees you've mistreated who deserve the apology? Successful products come from a positive work environment. If the workplace is filled with tension, no hit product will ever emerge. The product itself isn't bad, but it's unlikely to sell. I'm sorry, but we'll have to remove it from our listing. Could you please reconsider? If our president learns of this, I could lose my job, not just miss out on promotions. Even without this incident, you're not fit to be a branch manager. Are you truly acting in your subordinates' best interests as the leader of this branch, or are you just venting your frustrations on them?" After graduating from university, Sophia joined a major IT company. She had always excelled in STEM subjects. Her talent for programming was exceptional. She was also fluent in multiple languages, enabling smooth communication with international staff. From the start, Sophia was tasked with developing an e-commerce site targeted at overseas markets due to high expectations from senior management. The site offered a variety of items, including clothing, daily necessities, and food. But not every company could freely list their products. Sophia's e-commerce venture aims to create an America boom overseas. For this purpose, discerning buyers like Sophia scrutinized the products. Only items that pass multiple levels of review are allowed to be listed. Initially criticized, this approach led to numerous hit products. As these products helped expand overseas sales channels, even major corporations started pitching their products. As the e-commerce site grew, managing it as just a department within the company became challenging. Consequently, the e-commerce operation was spun off as an independent entity, with Sophia becoming the president of the new company. "I apologize for not recognizing you, Ms. Miller. It's inexcusable, even though my subordinate forgot to inform me. I don't know how to apologize enough. Please reconsider our product listings. It's disgraceful to push the blame onto your subordinate while being in a managerial position. What I dislike the most is when people change their attitude depending on who they're dealing with. It's truly unfortunate, as I thought to discuss this matter here since I've relocated my base. Please understand that I will inform Mr. Johnson about everything that happened today, and about the part-time job. I'm sorry, but I'm currently too busy to work even once a week." After saying this, Sophia left the branch. Michael slumped into his chair, dazed. Staring blankly at the ceiling until the end of the workday, Michael didn't once stand up. Following Sophia's report, Mr. Johnson initiated a comprehensive investigation not just at branches across the country, but also at subsidiaries and even the headquarters, to ensure no harassment was occurring towards subordinates. The branch I was demoted to underwent particularly thorough scrutiny. As a result, Michael's misuse of his position and inappropriate behavior were revealed one after another. Loud sarcasm, dumping his work on others, forcing weekend work, and making others pay for outings. All of these unprofessional behaviors came to light. Sophia genuinely had an interest in some of the products manufactured by the company, unrelated to it being my workplace. The presence of a nearby branch contributed to her genuine desire to consider a business deal, but she wanted to ensure that Michael would not take credit for it. That was the strategy behind her actions. 6 months later, Sophia and I started discussing Bella, who seemed cramped moving around in her cage. Perhaps she was happier wandering freely as a stray cat. But living outside, you never know what might happen at any time. Don't you think Bella wants to live freely too? I want to make it passable for her to move around without any worries. Yeah, you're right. Plus, if we keep her like this, she might not get enough exercise and become overweight. Having Belle in our home has increased our conversations more than ever before. I think she's hungry, or she seems a bit grumpy today. Sophia and I report every single move and behavior of Bella to each other. We're like a young couple watching over a newborn baby. After thoroughly discussing our future career plans together, we decided to sell the apartment we used to live in and bought a detached house near the office. We prioritized a spacious layout so Bella could run around to her heart's content. This also enabled us to secure a dedicated workspace for Sophia. This setup would allow for hassle-free online meetings. The reason for moving close to the branch was that I took over from Michael and became the new branch manager. At our branch office, there are only 2 employees, the manager and a regular employee. We managed to increase our part-time staff from 1 to 2, but we're still a small but elite team. We focused on properties within cycling distance so we could respond quickly in case of any issues. By that time, Michael had already left the branch. Mr. Johnson personally gave Michael a warning. Mr. Johnson demoted him to a regular employee and appointed me as the manager. However, from that day on, Michael never came to the branch again, and after 2 weeks of unexplained absences, he submitted his resignation. I still vividly remember Michael showing up with his resignation letter. His hair was unkempt, and he had a scruffy beard. His shirt was crumpled and slightly dirty. He must have lost all his motivation after losing all the trust he had built up. Michael seemed barely able to make it to the branch. "Are you okay? Why don't you start from scratch and give it another go? You're still in your 30s. There's plenty of time to turn things around." Worried by his haggard appearance, I tried to encourage Michael, but he just slowly shook his head. His intention to leave was clear. After a long silence, he finally spoke in a voice just loud enough to hear. "I'm done. I'm completely worn out. I went to a private high school that was a feeder for prestigious universities in New York, but I ended up failing and barely made it into a local national university. Of course, being at a national university in the countryside is still considered impressive, but it's nothing compared to my classmates who are in the glamorous world. I thought I could make up for it by getting a job, but I couldn't get along with my boss and was transferred to the branch. I got the title of manager, but it's a small branch in the countryside with just a few subordinates. I'm too embarrassed to even attend reunions." After saying that, Michael lifted his head and declared to no one in particular, "Getting to this point has actually been a relief. There's a reunion coming up, and I plan to declare loudly that I'm unemployed, a complete loafer. Freedom feels great." With that, Michael handed me his resignation letter and left with a determined stride. He mentioned moving within the next week, but I have no idea where he's headed. Michael, now freed from pride and obligations, has embraced his newfound freedom. It felt true to press him for details about his moving plans, so I held back. Sophia also gained her freedom. Leveraging her experience with remote work, she started initiatives to diversify work styles, especially for women, who, despite having high capabilities, often ended up staying at home. By institutionalizing remote work, she's been able to actively scout talented female engineers living in rural areas. As a result, the talent level has skyrocketed. We've managed to expand the business fivefold. As for Sophia and me in our personal lives, it feels like we're truly enjoying life as a couple for the first time. With more time on her hands, Sophia joins me at the dinner table and plays with our pet, Bella. The cat has grown up so fast, I heard their job becomes taking naps. If we're going to play, now's the time. It's like getting a taste of parenting. As the manager of the branch with the lowest sales, I have one goal: to push the sales of this rural branch into the top 5. David, you'll be fine. Making a different choice from everyone else can be a chance in its own way. I'm sure many companies will notice you. I remember the words Sophia said to me when I decided not to go to college. When work is over, I rush home. To get back to Sophia and Bella,